I was quite fortunate when I was younger. My mum and dad owned a succession of sailing boats, so although we weren't rich, we did an awful lot of sailing. At weekends we'd go down the West Country or to France. So it was only natural that when I grew up and left school, I wanted to do something that involved the sea and particularly sailing. So when I was 16, I left school, and the first thing I did was sail the Atlantic Ocean at 16. I loved it so much, I went back and did it again. In fact, I went back and did it a third time when I was 16 years old. So I'd had a whole lifetime experience of sailing at sea, some 30,000 miles by the time I was 18 years old. Unfortunately for me, at 18, whilst working in the West Indies, I dived into shallow water on a beach and hit my head, broke my neck, and I've been paralysed ever since. That was 1984, so crikey, that was some 27, 28 years ago now. And it paralysed, which means I can't walk, I can't feel, I can't move my fingers or my hands very well. So it put paid to a career in sailing, really, and it was many years later I got back in a dinghy and I decided that actually I could still sail again. As a disabled person, I could still sail. Albeit with my teeth and my hands, I could still make a boat sail on my own. So I decided some years later to do a lot of racing, and I worked with the RYA to form a new charity. Me and a number of other trustees formed a charity called Sailability back in the mid-90s. And at that time there was only a handful of disabled sailors in the UK back in 95. Last year over 25,000 disabled people went sailing. So that's a fantastic number, and it's due to a lot of hard work by volunteers and trustees and the RYA. But in all that time, I've seen I've seen the happiness that disabled people get being on the water. They're not fussy whether it's in a sailing boat or whether it's in a powerboat. They're just being on the water is good enough to put a smile on a face. And so I decided, you know what? I looked at it and realised there were 22 charities for disabled sailing, but there wasn't one charity for disabled powerboating. So the penny dropped. I decided to have a powerboat built myself, a cheetah catamaran on the Isle of Wight, with twin 300 horsepower Suzuki engines on the back. So this thing will do 40 knots. I had her built so I could drive her from my wheelchair, and she debuted at Southampton Boat Show, and we took 250 disabled people out in just over a week. And I realised then that this was needed. It was very much needed. So I decided the next stage was to put together the trust. I couldn't be a trustee of myself because it was a conflict of interest, but I approached Shelley Jury-Lee, the powerboat champion, who's just a great advocate for disability powerboating, and a few other people, and we got together. I brought them into my front room. I said, look, you don't know each other or why you're here, but this is what I want to achieve. And they thought it was a great idea, and since then they've run with it. They've started the charity, and they've already started to raise money. And that money is enabling, is giving grants, which enables disabled people to actually get out powerboating. Okay, maybe it's not all, Formula One stuff around Britain, but you've got to remember, not everybody uses a wheelchair. Some people are maybe deaf, blind, amputees, and they can do a lot more agile powerboating than I can. So it's a great cause. I think it's fantastic for the powerboating industry themselves, because now they've got something they can focus on. And so now everyone from the boat manufacturers, the engine manufacturers, the fuel suppliers, the shippers, the participants, the volunteers, they can all get involved and raise money for this fantastic cause. Right now, there's only 1 or 2 powerboats in the whole of the country where disabled people can go. My boat is called Wet Wheels. She's based at Gunwharf Quays down in Portsmouth. And we've got a great website, nice and easy, wetwheels.co.uk. And any disabled people listening to this or watching it who think, I fancy a bit of that, go to the website, wetwheels.co.uk, and drop us an email, and we'll sort something out for you. Alternatively, you might like to help the Disabled Powerboating Trust to raise money. They're going to need lots of money. So just basically go to, it's nice and easy, disabledpowerboatingtrust.org.uk, and there they'll be able to advise you on how to help them raise money and where they're going to be during the year, so you can help them in their promotion and PR.